If swimmers can't learn to swim level in the water, going fast becomes really hard. It's a foundational skill that makes learning every other skill that much easier. One of the simplest ways to build that foundation is with floating. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. Managing body position is critical for fast swimming. If swimmers want to manage their body position, they need to be able to control and manage the air in their lungs. All too often, swimmers move on to working on specific strokes before they've set the foundation. When that's the case, one of the simplest ways to get them back on track is by using various floating exercises so that they can learn how to control their position in the water by managing the air in their lungs. Let's check it out. Straight equals speed. If swimmers can swim straight through the water, they will go faster. If they're swimming at an incline, that means more resistance, and that means they're going to go slower. And it's not just the position that matters. If swimmers have to work really hard to maintain that position, that is also going to kill speed. Working to maintain their position usually means they're using their arms or their legs to do so, and that's going to require a whole lot more effort. But also, if the arms and legs are being used to maintain position, they are not being used to create propulsion. And so swimmers have to learn how to manage their body position without using just the arms and the legs, and that's going to allow them to go straight and do so with a lot less effort. It all starts with the lungs. The lungs are what provide us with buoyancy, so if we know that the lungs are always going to try to return to the surface because of the air that they hold, swimmers can learn to strategically press the lungs into the water to better manage their position. If they get better position in the water, they'll swim through the water with less resistance and they will go faster. So the lungs can be used to help swimmers achieve better positions with a whole lot less effort. They don't have to use the arms and the legs to make it happen. They can manage their body position by leveraging their lungs to help them float more horizontally. There are certain exercises that are really effective for helping swimmers feel the impact of their lungs, as well as help them learn how to manage the lungs. The first is the ball float. They'll just grab a big breath, move into a ball, squeeze their legs, and they'll find that they just float naturally at the surface of the water with very little effort. That can help swimmers understand that their lungs will support them in the water if they let them. Next, we can move on to the active jellyfish, where swimmers learn how to press into their lungs, and they can use that movement to help lift their hips up to the surface. It's an active attempt at leveraging the lungs in order to manipulate position. Next, swimmers can use the ball float to X float, where they start in the ball position and then they move out into an X. In order to do that, they have to continue to press into the water with their chest and their upper body. And they also have to learn how to maintain tension in their back to lift everything up to the surface. So between those three exercises, swimmers can learn those foundational floating skills. And when they can learn the floating exercises, they can then take those skills into their swimming. So this is the ball float, not a whole lot going on. It's all about getting a big breath, holding tight, and just letting the lungs hold them up in the water. The key idea is to feel the support of the lungs and how that creates flotation. With an understanding of how the lungs can hold swimmers up in the water, the next goal is to learn how to press into the water to try to get the hips up at the surface. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle for some swimmers, more so than others, and the goal is to learn how to press into the water to pull the hips up to the surface. The more swimmers can learn how to press and lean, the better they're going to be able to support themselves at the surface of the water with as little effort as possible. Next up is ball float to X float, and what they're going to do is start in a ball float position, spread everything out, and they're going to try to manage that position horizontal on the water. They've got to learn how to create tension in the back. They've got to learn how to maintain pressure into the water to pull everything up to the surface. Again, they're not using their arms and their legs to create stability. They're learning how to manipulate their body and their position and their posture by using the lungs in order to hold themselves up on the water. The more effectively they can do that, the easier it's going to be to maintain great body position with as little effort as possible. So how can you actually use these exercises within a workout? One strategy is to use them as a primer. So they're going to feel that skill, feel the floating exercise, and then perform the skill while they're actually swimming. And so the goal is to get a lot of repetitions of a float and then a swim, a float and then a swim. So they feel the skill when they're floating and then they try to execute it when they're actually swimming. You can also use them as reminders. So you're trying to remind swimmers of what they need to do during long sets. And so you'll place them strategically throughout extended sets and then use them during recovery periods to help swimmers get back on track with their skills. So for instance, you could go 3 200s, do a few floating exercises, do another 3 200s, do some floating exercises, and that way they can feel those skills throughout the set so that they can stay better in touch with those skills and hopefully execute those skills better during extended sets. You can also challenge it. So have them do some fast, hard swimming and then have them float. So they're going to be out of breath, they're going to be fatigued, and then you can ask them to manage their floating skills, and that's going to require them to be patient with their breathing, and they're going to have to be really dialed in when they're going to be really tired. All are great ways to help incorporate these skills into their swimming, and they're all strategies that make it more likely that swimmers are going to actually be able to execute these skills when they swim. So here are 2 sets that illustrate these concepts. The first one, they're going to go 6 rounds through of 325s. They're all freestyle. The first repetition, they're going to go a 10-second ball float before it. Before the second repetition, 10-second active jellyfish. And before the third repetition, they're going to go 3 reps of ball float to X float. They're going to try to take fewer strokes, rounds 1 to 3, and then rounds 4 to 6. So they're trying to execute great body position, and they're going to try to transfer that body position into fewer strokes. Second set, they're going to go 6 rounds through. They're going to go 4 25s. Number 1 is build to fast. Number 2 is fast at 3 strokes less than normal. Number 3 is fast at 2 strokes less than normal. And number 4 is fast at 1 stroke less than normal. On the odd rounds, they'll go 10 seconds of active jellyfish before each repetition. On the even rounds, they'll go 5 reps of ball float to X float before each repetition. The purpose here is to do these butterfly and breaststroke so swimmers can learn how to manage their position, especially when they're going up and down in those strokes, and especially when they're trying to go fast. So the idea here is they're taking those floating skills and making it happen when they're trying to go fast. And most importantly, they'll get good at executing it when they're swimming just like they swim in races. If you want to learn more about how to improve body position and alignment, check out the video below.